We're not getting there anytime soon anyway. I'm not saying like tomorrow with a magic wand, we are going to dissolve the class structure and live in a moneyless, classless, stateless society, you know?
Yeah, my thoughts even then, like, would even a stateless society be, like, desirable in the future? Like, even if we hit, like, full automation. So I don't want to, like, full-on socialist debate you, but, like, even if we hit full automation, like, would it even be desirable for us to get rid of that? Like, because we still want a state to, like, limit people from committing crimes, right?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I'm not a communist. So I think that I can't even imagine what that would look like in general. But the way I explain it is, like, I'm not opposed to it, you know? I wouldn't say I'm a communist, but I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to a stateless, moneyless society, a borderless society.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you be against like the enforcement of certain types of laws?
Wasn't his conversation with Ethan basically we need to put people in re-education camps? No, it wasn't basically that. He said that. He said it verbatim that they would be re-educated. Yes. Like once we meet that society, I feel like in a communist society, there's no government that would enforce laws against like pedophilia. I feel like that was true, right?
No,
just as a thought experiment, do you think a socialist society could work if the distribution was done by AI since they'd like greed, etc.? No. So there's a weird like capitalist socialism which assumes that all of society will be equal. That's what the Republicans used to say that Democrats were doing and why they called them communists. You want everybody to be equal. There's nothing that's inherent in a socialist or communist, well, in a socialist society though, that says that everybody has to be paid the same. Like you could theoretically have a system where there are no owners, but some employees own, or there are no owners who don't work, right? Where some employees own more than another employee, or they might have equal ownership, but some employees get paid more. Like that's entirely possible. So socialism doesn't demand equalization throughout all of society. That's just a thing that socialists morally argue for. There's a more roundabout way to get there, though, that in a society where the owners are all of the workers, instead of the ownership being concentrated among a few people, the structure of that economic system would lend itself towards more economic equality between people, just because it would be really hard for individuals to amass a massive amount of wealth, because that would necessarily be split more between all of the owners of the businesses that they all work.
Yes, obviously. That's why I'm saying I'm not a communist, but if society evolved in a way where we're talking so far out there, like we're now talking about theoretically what it would look like, right? We're basically fantasizing about a world that is from where I'm standing impossible to imagine. But I think like the argument, I guess, would be that one, obviously most crime in general, with the exception of like antisocial personality disorder related.
Most crime comes from capitalist conditions. Is he really going to say that? Most crime stems from material conditions not being fulfilled.
Crimes,
Step one.
Are like psychopathy or sociopathy, like things like that. Crimes born out of crimes that might be born out of like mental
illness. Yeah. But then other than that, it's going to be material conditions.
Problems. And not to say that like people with mental health issues are criminals or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But with the exception of those, like most crime is done because of financial circumstances, like your material conditions.
Yes. And then he's going to say that capitalism necessitates those material conditions, either because owners will always disproportionately own way more than laborers, or he might do the one where owners need poor people in society because that like enforces the hierarchy. Some argument down there, I think.
Create a likelihood for you to go out and do crime. And I think the argument there is that like in that structure, it's already all of your needs are addressed anyway. So the only remaining crime would possibly be, like you said.
Oh, Jesus, socialism, a great society. The only crime is, okay, never mind. He's saying socialism. He's not doing that.
Which I guess at that stage, medical advancements would have found a solution for that as well. Like I'm assuming that's what it would look like if I were to envision a communist society. So the concept of crime in and of itself would be entirely destroyed, considering that the overwhelming majority of crime is born out of material conditions.
I mean, just appeal to some libertarian enforcement mechanism, right? Don't forget those collectives, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a libertarian by any means. So, and that's part. Like, I'm a state enjoyer. I often, especially in this past month, I've been talking quite a bit about how we should have 1 million more government employees. I think it's ridiculous that we're trying to cut government employees rather than hire more people for the government. I think that
to normies, like just stand on your because it depends, because you're not thinking of the right goal. His goal is to convert. His goal is propaganda. So of course you're going to lie. Or well, the goal isn't propaganda. The goal is converting people to his belief system. So if he can lie to do that more effectively, he'll do it.
Because we don't.
Wait, is his argument that crime would basically end except for mental illness in a socialist society? Yes, that's what he argued earlier.
Want to pay for the salaries of additional TSA employees at the time. Same with luggage handlers, right? Like anywhere where you experience as a consumer, anywhere you experience any sort of issue, our immediate inclination is that it's actually the fault of the individual workers who are lazy, and that's wrong. That's just simply incorrect. It is directly.
Who is a commie said that the people were doing fine in the Soviet Union and that the problems in society were exaggerated by capitalists. Is this true? It is absolutely true. That's why when the Soviet Union fell and the Warsaw Pact fell apart, all of those other countries were begging to get back into the Soviet Union. Is that the exact opposite of what happened? I don't remember.
Really,
I like how it's ironic how MAGA says like these criminals are like taking our jobs, but really it's Donald Trump who's the criminal taking our jobs.
Yeah.
From federal employees. Kind of crazy that's embarked. I don't mean to like go into a whole.
Consistently argue that lower economic conditions are the biggest contributor to crime. I think economic inequality is one of the largest contributors to like property-related crimes. But there are some crimes that I don't know if domestic violence is going to be caused by poverty. It might be exaggerated by it, but even in a perfect society, economically, I'm sure people would still commit crimes for a variety of reasons.
Socialism debate with you, but yeah, thanks for answering all my questions. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Hasanabi, real name Hassan Piker, is streaming to his legion of socialist stands, preaching the gospel of a world where capitalism's iron grip is shattered, and we're all frolicking in a borderless, moneyless, stateless paradise. No bosses, no billionaires, no bills, just vibes, comrades, and maybe a government-subsidized oat milk latte. In this utopia, Hassan argues, crime would all but disappear. Why? Because most crime, he says, is born from material conditions. Poverty, inequality, the desperate scramble for scraps in a world where Jeff Bezos owns the table. Get rid of capitalism, meet everyone's needs, and poof. No more muggings, no more shoplifting, no more grand theft, auto the real kind, not the video game. The only crimes left would be the rare outbursts of psychopaths and sociopaths, and even those, Hassan muses, might be solved by some futuristic medical miracle. It's a vision so rosy, it makes a Pixar movie look like a dystopian thriller. Enter Destiny, our liberal gladiator, watching this unfold with the kind of incredulity you'd expect from a guy who's just been told the moon's made of cheese. Destiny's not just skeptical, he's offended, like Hassan's trying to sell him a timeshare in a communist fantasy land. His stream is a masterclass in rhetorical evisceration, as he dismantles Hassan's argument with the precision of a surgeon and the ferocity of a pit bull. Crime, Destiny argues, isn't just about money. It's about human nature, greed, jealousy, rage, the messy impulses that don't vanish just because everyone's got a universal basic income and a free Netflix subscription. Hassan's vision of a crime-free socialist utopia, it's not just naive, it's delusional, a fever dream that ignores the complexities of human behavior for the sake of a tidy narrative. Destiny's roasting Hassan like he's a bad stand-up comic bombing at an open mic, and the chat is eating it up like it's a 5-course meal. This isn't just a debate, though. It's a clash of worldviews, a referendum on what it means to be on the left in 2025. Hassan's socialist lens sees capitalism as the root of all evil, a system that breeds crime by starving people of resources and dignity. Destiny, the liberal pragmatist, sees crime as a hydra with many heads, some economic, sure, but others psychological, cultural, even biological. To Hassan, socialism is the silver bullet. To Destiny, it's a placebo, a feel-good story that sounds nice until you realize humans are still humans, and humans are messy. This is the left eating itself, folks. A civil war between the dreamers and the doers, the utopians and the realists, and Destiny's wielding the flamethrower. Destiny's roast of Hassan is a thing of beauty, a verbal takedown that's equal parts hilarious and horrifying. He's not just calling out Hassan's naivety. He's exposing the cracks in the socialist narrative, the kind of cracks you could drive a Tesla Cybertruck through. Hassan's argument, that most crime stems from material deprivation and would vanish in a socialist utopia, is, to Destiny, a gross oversimplification, the kind of thing you'd hear from a college freshman who just discovered Marx and thinks tweeting is praxis. Destiny's counterpoint is brutal. Even in a world of full automation, free healthcare, and universal basic income, people would still commit crimes. Why? Because humans are humans, and humans do dumb, selfish, violent things for reasons that have nothing to do with their bank account. What makes Destiny's roast so delicious is his refusal to let Hassan off the hook for the implications of his argument. Hassan's not just saying crime would decrease in a socialist society. He's saying it would practically vanish, except for a few mental illness outliers. Now, let's give Hassan his due, because this guy's not some random ex-troll spouting nonsense. He's a socialist rock star, a Twitch titan with a fanbase that treats his streams like a secular church. Born in New Jersey to Turkish immigrant parents, Hassan's journey from Young Turk's host to online leftist icon is a masterclass in branding, blending charisma, conviction, and a knack for making complex ideas sound like barstool banter. His socialist lens is pure, unapologetic, and deeply moral. Capitalism, he argues, is a machine that grinds people into dust, creating poverty, inequality, and desperation that fuel crime. Fix the system, redistribute wealth, empower workers, abolish billionaires, and you fix the root cause of most criminal behavior. It's a compelling narrative, one that resonates with a generation drowning in student debt and gig economy hustle. But Destiny's not buying the fairy tale, and neither should we. Hassan's argument hinges on the idea that material conditions are the primary driver of crime, a claim that sounds reasonable until you start poking holes in it. Sure, poverty can exacerbate crime. Nobody's arguing that a kid stealing bread to feed his family is the same as a Wall Street bro cooking the books. But Hassan's leap from poverty contributes to crime, to socialism would all but eliminate crime, is like jumping from a diving board into a kiddie pool. Destiny's calling out the oversimplification, pointing out that crime isn't just about money. It's about power, control, ego, and the dark corners of the human psyche that don't vanish just because everyone's got a free apartment and a government-issued iPhone. As liberals, we're supposed to be the ones fighting for progress, for a fairer world where everyone gets a shot at the good life. So why does Hassan's socialist vision feel like a punch to the gut? Because, my friends, it's a utopia, and utopias are a trap, a seductive lie that promises perfection but delivers dogma. Hassan's crime defense is a classic socialist sleight of hand. Blame capitalism for everything, promise socialism will fix it, and wave away the messy details like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hammer and sickle hat. Destiny's not just roasting Hassan, he's roasting the entire utopian mindset, the idea that we can engineer a society so perfect that crime becomes a relic, like dial-up internet or skinny jeans. This is where the liberal in me starts hyperventilating, because utopianism isn't just naive, it's dangerous. History's littered with the wreckage of utopian experiments, from the Soviet Union to Mao's China, where the dream of a classless society turned into a nightmare of gulags and re-education camps. Destiny's poking at this dark underbelly when he brings up Hassan's comment about re-educating people in a communist society, a chilling nod to the authoritarian streak that often lurks beneath socialist rhetoric. Hassan tries to backpedal, saying he's not a communist, but the damage is done. Destiny's like, oh, so you're not that kind of socialist, but you're still fantasizing about a world where crime just evaporates. Good luck with that, comrade. The liberal critique here is brutal but necessary. Progress isn't about dreaming of utopias, it's about grappling with reality. Crime isn't just a capitalist conspiracy, it's a human problem rooted in a tangle of economic, psychological, and cultural factors. Reducing it to material conditions is like saying all car accidents are caused by bad roads. Sure, infrastructure matters, but sometimes people just drive like idiots. Destiny's arguing for a liberalism that's grounded in data, not dogma, that acknowledges the complexity of human behavior without resorting to fairy tales about stateless societies or AI-run wealth distribution. It's not sexy, it's not TikTok-friendly, but it's honest. And honesty is what keeps the left from eating itself alive. Because this Destiny Hassan smackdown isn't just about crime, it's about the soul of the left in 2025, a movement that's fracturing under the weight of its own ambitions. Hassan represents the socialist wing, the dreamers who see capitalism as the root of all evil and socialism as the salvation. They're the ones marching for Medicare for all, chanting, "Eat the rich," and tweeting memes about guillotines. Destiny, meanwhile, is the liberal pragmatist, the guy who believes in incremental change, evidence-based policy, and calling out bad ideas even when they come from his own side. This isn't just a debate, it's a civil war, a battle between the heart and the head of the left, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Hassan's socialist lens is seductive because it's moral. It sees a world where inequality is a sin, where crime is a symptom of injustice, where the solution is as simple as redistributing wealth and power. It's a vision that resonates with a generation crushed by student debt, climate anxiety, and a gig economy that feels like a hamster wheel to nowhere. But it's also a vision that risks alienating the normies, the people who don't read theory or watch Twitch streams, who just want a government that works and a life that doesn't suck. Destiny's roast is a warning. If the left leans too hard into utopian fantasies, it's going to lose the people it claims to fight for, the ones who don't have the luxury of debating material conditions when they're trying to pay rent. This is the liberal gospel at work, the idea that progress is messy, incremental, and grounded in reality. Destiny's not just fighting for liberalism, he's fighting for a left that can actually win, that can win elections, change policies, and make life better without resorting to pipe dreams or dogma. Hassan's crime defense, with its starry-eyed view of human nature, is a symptom of what's wrong with the socialist left. It's more about ideology than impact, more about preaching than governing. Destiny's calling for a left that's willing to get its hands dirty, to grapple with the complexities of crime, human behavior, and governance, without resorting to simplistic narratives or magical thinking.